The world is filled with inequalities. Over the years, our definition of mankind has changed. Man has evolved to be a civilized human being. It is intriguing to note how we humans have so smartly dedicated ourselves to segregated beliefs of our society. The ideas of inequalities have also undergone various transformations and are a major concern for everyone who are advocates of tolerance. The philosophy that one is superior to other has endured so deeply into our veins that we seem to overlook the kind of destruction it has caused to mankind. One such arbitrariness that we seem to dictate to humans is racism, prejudice that is based on a color superiority. Red Indians, Asians, Africans, African Americans have all been its victims. Rising above these inequalities and becoming a voice to a million other people is what greatness is all about, and this is the current demand of humanity. Today we remember some of the events in the past that have changed a million lives and has enabled them a better today. And we shall also see those glorious faces that emerged to us during the course of these events. Civil War was the deadliest battle fought in America. It was also known as the War of States. It killed more than 750,000 soldiers, and the losses of infrastructural property were enormous. The rehabilitation of all families was a long road ahead.
Resistance to the war was growing. Mr. Lincoln needed to reinvigorate the people, to explain to them, and perhaps himself, why this endless plague of war must continue.
77 years ago, our fathers brought forth upon this continent a new nation, conceived in liberty and dedicated to the proposition that all men are created equal. Now, we are engaged in a great civil war, testing whether that nation or any nation so conceived and so dedicated can long endure. We are met on a great battlefield of that war. We have come to dedicate a portion of that field as a final resting place for those who here gave their lives that that nation might live. It is altogether fitting and proper that we should do this. But in a larger sense, we cannot dedicate, we cannot consecrate, we cannot hallow this ground. The brave men, living and dead, who struggled here have consecrated it far above our poor power to add or detract. The world will little note nor long remember what we say here, but it can never forget what they did here. It is for us, the living rather, to be dedicated here to the unfinished work which they who fought here have thus far so nobly advanced. It is rather for us to be here dedicated to the great task remaining before us, that from these honored dead we take increased devotion to that cause for which they here gave the last full measure of devotion. That we here highly resolve that these dead shall not have died in vain. That this nation, under God, shall have a new birth of freedom. And that government of the people, by the people, for the people, shall not perish from the earth.
These historic words, written and spoken by the legendary 16th President of America, Abraham Lincoln, announced the beginning of a new dawn in the country. Still, the blacks suffered humongous amount of torture from the people in the South.
A man's political rights, a man's economic opportunities, a man's social position shall depend solely upon the color of his skin.
The sufferings were met with a certain kind of relief when the North and the South merged into a single territory, forming the United States of America. Lincoln's region is marked to be the beginning of various movements that gave millions of blacks in America a voice, but it couldn't completely diminish the autocracies of the whites towards the people of other races. And this case is not just in America, but around the world. When Britishers came to establish their presence in various territories, their biases too were based on the races.
And patience. Don't push us too far.
They declared their own kind to be more superior to others, and some great faces of the 20th century became victims to it. A concept of non-violence emerged during this time, and a slender man with no materials needs whatsoever took matters in his own hands, fought for the rights of the people in land that was completely foreign to him, and his contribution to humanity inspired few egalitarian scholar minds. Another huge fight which the blacks have been doing in the recent past is the fight for independence. Around 73 years ago, the country of South Africa fought a battle for socio-political change. It was Nelson Mandela who started the fight of freedom in South Africa, studying in Fort Hare University, where he first became involved in student protest. His refusal to accept injustice, unfairness, and inequality lasted lifetime. Later he pursued his law studies and joined the African National Congress, a black political organization of South Africa, to oppose the apartheid government.
It was when I came into the African National Congress that I realized that Xhosas are only a part of the African people. That the task of the ANC was to unite the African people and out of them build a nation.
Which also caused him the life imprisonment. He was only 45 when he was sentenced to jail. This gave a rise in the fight of freedom. In 1990, at the age of 71, Mandela was released unconditionally.
I stand here before you not as a prophet, but as a humble servant of you, the people. I place the remaining years of my life in your hands.
After leading negotiations for the new South Africa, Nelson Mandela cast his vote in the first free and democratic elections and became the country's first black president.
Never, never, and never again shall it be that this beautiful land will again experience the oppression of one by another.
Hence that day emerged to be a day when democracy prevailed and justice was provided for many people, and Mandela became an icon of leadership and humanity.